HawkTalk continues from Catahoula's in Monroe this evening as we get set to visit with Chipper Menard here this evening. Our visit with head coach Mike Federico continues here in just a few moments, but HawkTalk brought to you by Guerrero & Guerrero, proud to be the official law firm of the ULM Warhawks. Go Warhawks and go Guerrero. Chipper in his second season with the Warhawks, starting his career with that school down south that we won't talk much about, but he comes here and has now kind of gone back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen, but he's been coming off that nice performance back on Saturday night, game 2 of the doubleheader, throwing 6 innings against Georgia Southern, giving up just the solo home run, and has been on a bit of a roll here lately. But Chipper, welcome in. Glad you're finishing your career at the better school up north here anyway. But, as you went into that process, how did ULM come into the equation? How did you end up here?
Well, so out of high school, Coach Collins tried to recruit me to come to ULM. I really liked it there. Coach Fed was actually, the first coach that mentioned to me the possibility of playing at the next level, which, at the time I thought was really cool. And, ended up with the Cajuns because, it was close to home at the time, but now home is about in the Gulf. So whenever I decided to enter the portal, Coach Collins was in my phone again, and, I thought, that was the place that I was supposed to be to begin with. So I told him I'd come, and the rest is history. You go through, you're a baseball family. I mean, your dad's coaching, doing all that. I mean, you've grown up around the game. I mean, you don't know any other way, but, I'm sure you probably had a bat and a ball in your hands from a young age anyway. Just how important has baseball been throughout your life, especially with your dad having played collegiately and then coaching basically your whole life? Well, it definitely I've learned plenty of life lessons, especially from my dad, who's coached me since I asked him to start a travel team when I was 12. He's been my coach up until, I got to college. And so I've learned many of the baseball knowledge that I know from him. Growing up watching baseball with him, there'd be times where we'd be watching the same game and something happened. We'd say the same thing. And it's just because, it's baseball. We've been around it, and we pretty much knew it was going to happen.
I mean, you list your hometown as home with us, but, you've been all over the place. Your dad coaching all over the place in South Louisiana and whatnot. Just what was that experience like growing up and being able to be around, I'm sure, to be around a lot of his teams and whatnot and being around baseball guys your whole life?
Yeah, so, started off, 2 years high school, played for DeRitter in 4A, and went to the state tournament as a sophomore, got that experience, and then transitioned to New Iberia Senior High, where I played 2 years. Played the 5A, which is 3-5A, which is called the, like the SEC of high school sports. So some good competition there. And sadly, they didn't get to play senior year due to COVID. But, I feel like that transition there helped me better prepare to go into college. And it wasn't as – well, it was bad because, COVID and everything. It's very unnatural what was taking place there. But I feel like having the transition in between high school has definitely helped, transition better into college. And then the decision to transfer was easier knowing that I could take care of myself from the experience that I had from switching schools and then switching schools again up north.
You've done it all the time, but and you've done it well. And so to play for your dad, like you said, you go back to travel ball when you're 12, play high school for him. Was your dad tougher on you than your teammates, or how did that work?
I wouldn't say he was tougher on me, but I'd say he was tougher on me to be a leader because everyone looked to the coach's kid as what you were supposed to do. So he treated everyone the same, I'd say, whenever I was there. But, for sure I was looked at differently because I was the coach's son. And, whatever I do or what I didn't do was okay or not okay. And I had to learn that as a freshman going into the college team, or high school team, I should say. And, that stuck with me up until now, being on the college team and realizing, hey, I'm a senior now. These guys that, it's their first, second year are going to look to me about what to do, and I need to show them the right way to do it.
how you pitch, and to hear Ryan McLaren talk about it, I sit down at the beginning of every season with Coach Mack and Coach Kilgo, and we go through the entire roster, and Coach Mack brought up you, and he's like, well, he throws this, and he throws this, and he throws this, and he throws this, and he throws this, but he throws all of them about 5 different ways. And so I can sit there and I can have TrackMan in front of me, and I don't even know what it is all the time, but what you're throwing. How have you gone about developing your pitches? Because like Coach Mack says, you can throw a fastball up in the mid-90s, but then you may throw the next pitch in the mid to low 80s, but it's still a fastball. It's just a different way of throwing it. Just how have you gone about refining all of that throughout your career?
It's all about pitchability and feel. I've got a ton of innings under my belt, and I've learned situations of when to throw each pitch, and I've learned whenever stuff isn't working to flip to other things. Like, I had a bad stint a couple weeks ago at Southern Miss, and, before that where, gave up a couple runs. I wasn't getting swing and misses. My stuff wasn't working. So that next week where it started the 14-inning stint that you talked about earlier, worked with more of a cutter and change-up fastball look, and, it's proven successful just mixing the cutter in there more. That's been the more successful pitch that I've thrown as of late, and doing so has allowed me to pitch as well as I have these past couple outings.
As far as your tempo, too, I mean, first of all, as a broadcaster, I love it when you're going. I mean, it's just bang, bang, bang. I don't have time to talk about anything else. It's you get the ball back, here we go. And then I really noticed it Saturday against Georgia Southern that you had those moments where, the pitch clock's winding down and you just kind of changed the tempo. And there was one that you got the strikeout on, too, that you kind of took that pitch clock down, and it was just a stare down between you and the batter for a moment, and then you just blow it by him to get the strikeout. Just how much can you use that tempo as part of your game, too? Because to go from working quickly to then slow it down on a dime, I mean, just seems like it makes it difficult on a hitter.
Well, I'll tell you, the reason I work so fast is because of the 13-second rule. The previous pitch stays in the hitter's mind for 13 seconds, and you want to try to feed the next pitch in there so that pitch before still stays in his mind. But I'll tell you, Saturday, it was more or less I had to make myself stop because I was out of breath. It was a long day. I like to run around during BP, catch fly balls and everything. So I was out of breath for most of that outing. I had to collect myself and make a pitch those couple times where I did, and got those 2 strikeouts where I winded the clock down because I needed to catch my breath and make a pitch.
Well, I mean, you are one of the guys, there's a foul ball down the line. I mean, you are on a sprint for that foul ball just about every time. If it's not your day, you just seem to have this energy. Where's that come from that you just exude that energy all the time?
It's expected from me, from my teammates, and it's I'd say it's the joy to be around the game because not many guys get to experience college baseball, and to be able to play in Division I is even more special. So, just the joy to be out there every day and, to show the guys that, hey, it's fun to be out here. Don't treat this as a job. Mm-hmm. Be happy to be out here, and inspiring those guys, just go out there, play the game they love, and don't treat it as anything more than that.
Between you and Cam, I mean, you two are the 2 fastest workers I've ever been around, and it's a lot of fun to kind of get to watch you guys work and whatnot. Have you ever talked with Cam about tempo and things like that? Because, I mean, you guys are – I know Coach is big on tempo and things like that, but you guys are kind of the poster children for working fast on the mound.
Yeah, so, we've never talked about tempo specifically, but, we do talk about each other's outings, and, I've learned – stuff from him that he's a command guy.
Mm-hmm.
He can place a pitch wherever he wants to. He's has one of the best changeups on the team, I'd say, because of the swing and misses he gets on it. And I only had a changeup for this year. It's the most I've thrown a changeup. I never really learned one. Didn't need it in high school. Said I had to learn it in college, and took me 4 years to do it. But the stuff that me and him talk about, it's just lefty stuff,
mm-hmm.
how we attack. He goes out on Friday, ask him like, hey, how does this guy react to you, and kind of go off of that.
I know last season when you were in that starting role on Sundays, and Coach said he put you there on purpose because you're analytical, you sit there in the dugout, you kind of break down the opponent as you go through things. How have you gotten into that mindset, and how much do you rely on that, just sitting there and kind of watching the order a couple of times and maybe even developing your plan of attack? You may know you're not going to pitch on Friday night, but you're getting ready for whenever you get out there Saturday or Sunday or whenever it might be.
Yeah, well, Coach McLaren, Coach Childress, and Brewer Hendricks, our analytics guy, they do a great job in developing scouting reports. So more this year, I've kind of gone less away with what I feel like I see and more of what they feel like is the best strategy, because I may miss things. I definitely don't know as much as those guys do, and I've pretty much relied on them to tell me how to navigate a lineup. So, and whenever you have Abshire, who's called the previous games and who's in there with them, he's got them in his ear, letting them navigate me through a game. And me going to what I feel like I should in certain situations, not all the time, but, select few times where I trust the pitch more than what they think. That's about how I've gone about games this year, trusting them and then trusting a catcher behind the plate.
What's the biggest thing you've picked up from Coach Mack and then even Coach Childress, who pitched here, a few years back? Just what's the biggest thing you have picked up from those guys in your 2 years?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, there's a ton that I learned from both of them. More importantly from Coach Mack that, there's more things to life than baseball. He went across the globe, fought wars, jumped out of helicopters, so what we have is lucky. What, like I was saying earlier, it's just the game. Just treat every day like, it's your last out there on the field. And, time for me is running down, so got to make the most of the time I have left. And Coach Childress, he's an encyclopedia of information. You ask him anything, he'll give you 3 different answers for what you're asking, and you can ask him anything, have a conversation, sit down with him on a bus ride, and have a good talk with him for a very long time.
As far as just being able to finish out your career, and I know you're coming down to the end of it here, at least at the collegiate level. Just how much have you thought about that, and maybe had it hit you that there's only a few more outings left in your collegiate career?
Well, I'd say thinking about that kind of kick-started, kind of this kind of good stint of outings that I've had, because, before I've been in the Sun Belt for 4 years. I pitched in Sun Belt for 4 years, so it crossed my mind that, hey, maybe these guys that figured me out, maybe not as effective as I was. And then kind of the next day came, and it was my turn to pitch again. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and, do what I do, and so be it, because, I'm not going to get this opportunity again. So
now looking at, I believe you're the oldest of your family, right?
Correct.
Okay, so oldest of 5. And then, of course, your dad in the baseball. You've talked about having to be a leader with your dad being a coach. Just how much has that even helped you become a leader, to be the oldest and have 4 younger siblings like that too?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's probably the easiest being the oldest of 5, especially whenever you have 2 sisters before you have another brother. So there was a lot of butting heads growing up, but, we've kind of being away. I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but we've kind of, as we all grown up together, we've gotten closer, and it's a good dynamic. I get to see them whenever they come up for games, and it's I miss them too. So they're a lot farther away than a 30-minute drive when I was at Lafayette. So every time I get to see them, it's always a good time, and I'm sure they're doing well.
Chipper, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Best of luck as you finish this thing out, and best of luck moving forward as well.
All right, appreciate you.
Chipper Menard with us here on HawkTalk tonight.